Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast that Stephanie Meyer and J.M. Barrie both don't want you to hear. It's Monkeys and Playbills.
I'm sorry, what? Okay. Why would Stephanie Meyer not want to hear this podcast?
Because Stephanie Meyer wrote a series of books about a immortal being who's hundreds of years old, who falls in love with a high school kid. And it's a little weird and a little creepy, but it's become beloved all over the world.
I see. But so did Anne Rice, technically, wrote okay, anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen,
okay.
Welcome to the podcast that Stephanie Meyer, Anne Rice, and J.M. Barrie all don't want you to hear. It's Monkeys and Playbills, y'all!
Oh, that's Paul DeGurse.
That's Jillian Willems. As always, in the digital studio, we have the incredible producer Daphne running the board. And also, I'm very pleased to announce we have an incredible guest with us today. You've probably already heard her giggling a little bit. It's a beautiful thing. Katie German is a actor, director, producer, theater administrator. She just crushes it left and right. You can see her directing work at MTC. She did a project with Nightwood, Native Theater, and New Harlem Productions recently. She's performed at MTYP and Rainbow Stage. She's just the shit. Katie, welcome here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am beyond thrilled to have you here because we've known each other for so long, but it's very rare that we get to actually have the opportunity to talk about a musical in this in-depth way.
Yep.
So I'm so excited that we get to do this with you.
I'm excited it's this musical as well.
Well, hold on. Let's slow down for a second, guys. We're going to be talking about a musical? What are we doing here?
Oh yeah, Paul, tell us. What is this show about?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember now. This is the show where we discuss musicals that had runs of 100 performances or fewer on Broadway.
And what the heck happened?
And today, we're looking at Tuck Everlasting.
I love the show. I'm not gonna lie. I love the show.
Starting off with a bang.
I've got a lot to say about this show. I think this is going to be very interesting because I'm not sure if I love this show. This show has a lot of merit. And I'll just get it right out of the way straight away. Just the fundamental concept of Tuck Everlasting weirds me out. And that's maybe the biggest thing that's going to hold me back in this whole episode. But we'll get into that.
I can't wait. Previews began at the Broadhurst Theatre on March 31st, 2016. It opened on April 26th, 2016, and closed on May 29th, 2016 after 28 previews and 39 performances.
That's heartbreaking.
It really is.
Yeah. So Tuck Everlasting. Did any of you have a relationship with this story before the musical?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Jill first, then Katie. What was your relationship with this story?
I had a really beautifully amazing teacher in junior high, Mrs. Nelson. And she read a lot of books to us, and this was one that she read to us. And she was also one of the teachers who, like she called me melodramatic from the moment I was in her class, and I think she identified just who I was to my core, and so I think I connect with her a lot. And then because she read it to us, it's like a very special book to me, because being read to is amazing, but also being read to by someone that kind of can tell who you are as a person just feels like really special. So I was very connected to this book. And also, when you're 13 and you're dealing with this subject matter, this question, which we'll get into, but this big existential question, I think it's a really nice way to introduce this concept of time to a kid of 12 or 13.
Totally. Because that's right. It's a super popular classic YA novel.
That's right.
Similar to Bridge to Terabithia or something.
Oh, sure.
I meant similar as in another thing you would read when you were 10 or 11.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, Katie, what's your relationship with Tuck Everlasting?
Okay, my parents used to, at the end of school, to celebrate the end of school, my beautiful parents used to buy us a set of books because we'd usually like go to the cabin or we go like on a road trip or something in the summer.
Yeah.
And so we would have books to read in the car because we didn't have DVD players back in the day.
Yes.
And so DVD players, because that's a thing. But we this was one of the books, and so was Bridge to Terabithia. And I remember reading these books in the back of my van with no air conditioning and like sobbing because I would be reading these books by myself, and my mom's like, "You okay back there?" And I remember reading this one specifically and being like, "This is so sad." That's my experience with this book, which I think is why I actually like it. I don't think I like the show for the show. I think I like the show for the memories.
Yep.
Because I don't have a pre-existing relationship with Tuck Everlasting. I had similar experiences to both of you with other books.
Right.
But Tuck Everlasting never entered into my circle specifically. So I don't have a previous relationship with Tuck Everlasting. I read a bunch of other books in the YA category, or had them read to me by teachers or something. Had Bridge to Terabithia. Had this bizarre book called The Ringer when I was in grade 5. It was about this town where all the kids go to a fair and they ring birds' necks. I swear to God, this exists.
What?
I swear to God.
What?
Yeah. And this kid doesn't want to ring birds' necks.
What? Wait, why not?
It's like, because he has a pet bird. He has a secret pet bird, but everyone in this town hates birds. The Giver is another YA one that's very bizarre.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I remember Tuck Everlasting because a movie came out in like the early 2000s.
That's right.
It was like a Disney movie.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched it. I refused.
I don't think you missed anything, Jillian. I think I tried to watch it as a kid and was disappointed. I don't think I got to the end of it. I was like, this isn't it.
That's good to know. I'm glad then that I didn't watch it, especially before watching the musical. I think it's good to not have had my experience with that tainted.
Oh, yeah.
So, as children, we had books about birds dying, and we had books about kids dying. And this falls into the kids dying category.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Along with...
I mean...
Well, yeah, because Winnie... Or spoiler alert, maybe we should get into the plot.
So, here at Monkeys and Playbills, we like to play a game. Just kidding, I like to play a game and make Paul do this exercise with our guest. The exercise is the following. Together, Katie, you and Paul will try to synopsize the musical Tuck Everlasting.
Okay, but point of order, I feel like this isn't fair because Katie's on. One of the reasons we have Katie on this episode specifically is because the company that she runs an incredible youth musical theater company in Winnipeg called JMTC, the Junior Musical Theater Company. Incredible program doing incredible work. And one season you produced the Canadian premiere of this musical?
Yeah!
That's incredible.
So you've directed this piece, you've lived with this piece. You've directed a whole bunch of 17-year-olds in this piece.
And like 12-year-olds and...
Yep.
Exactly. So you can synopsize this pretty well.
I mean, it was a couple years ago. I could give you like a quick 1 second line and I could give you like a more detailed one.
Give us one line. What's Tuck Everlasting about?
A girl has to decide whether she wants to live forever after she meets a family that can.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great.
That's absolutely it. What a crazy thing for a children's book and then a musical to be based on.
Well, who has never thought, I wonder if I could live forever?
Right.
My 5-year-old literally yesterday, I was like, if you could wish for anything in the world, what would it be? And he said, I wish that you and Dad could live forever.
Aww.
And me as an adult, except for I'm like, wait a minute, that would suck.
Yeah, right. But you know how this play goes.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go from the top. We start with a stage.
Yes, we do start with a stage.
As is typical of musicals, yep, there's usually a stage involved.
And we meet a bunch of characters very quickly.
Yes.
Yep.
We meet Winnie. Winnie is precocious. Winnie is tired of being a good girl. Winnie is tired of doing what she's told. She longs for something more. But her mom is like, no, I don't want you to do things.
Right. And her grandma's like, do them.
Yeah.
And her grandma's like, do them. Yeah.
As grandmas do.
Yep.
We also meet Ma Tuck. Do we meet all the Tucks or just Ma Tuck in the opening?
All the Tucks.
We meet all the Tucks.
They're all coming back together, I think, right? After a long absence.
This is their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we meet all the Tucks. They're all coming back together. We meet a man in a yellow suit. He's played by Broadway legend Terrence Mann.
We'll get into that later, but wow.
And this is all accompanied by, there's a lot of fog on the stage, there's lots of vines and kind of foresty, and there's people dressed like they're from like the horror movie Midsummer, but they're all strutting
that is
around the
accurate.
stage.
Yes.
They're just strutting.
Yeah.
So with...
There's also a tree.
There's a tree. That's very important.
Very important.
There's absolutely a tree. Yeah.
It's a big old tree.
This tree is a permanent installation in this theater. It's the same theater where Parade happened. It's the same theater where...
that.
It's not. That's a joke. That's another show with a big tree. So then we go to Winnie's house, where we get to hear that Winnie's unhappy and her mom's like, don't do things. And her grandma's like, do things. Winnie wants to go to the fair. So Winnie sings a song about how she doesn't want to be a good girl anymore.
Yep.
And then she leaves? She bails. She goes out the front door.
Runs.
She runs away.
Because there's a parade because the parade comes by her
Yes.
house.
The parade comes by
The
her
parade
house.
just marches
Yeah.
by.
Absolutely. They strut by. She finds her way into the forest and she meets a tiny boy, a tiny man
Jesse.
named Jesse. He's tiny. He's not but 5 feet 3 inches high. I looked it up yesterday how tall Andrew Keenan Bolger is.
Is he that? That's my height.
I'm 5'2". What does that make me?
All the three of the other, and so is producer Daff. That's so funny.
So, like, average
Yeah, I was
height
gonna
then.
say,
Yes.
point of order. You want to go harder on that tiny man thing there, DeGurse? You want to go?
She meets a very respectably sized man
Yeah.
named Jesse Tuck.
Average, one might say.
Average, one might
Yes.
say. And Jesse Tuck is very precocious. He's got a little bit of whimsy and a little bit of mischief in his eyes.
Yes. And his hair.
And his hair, he's got
There's
mischief all up in his
mischief
hair.
in his
Yeah.
He's got mischief hair. That hair is all up to no good.
He shows her around the forest / like jungle. It's a forest, not a jungle, but shows her around the
It's definitely a
forest.
forest. I think the jungle vines are just the leaves.
Right, yes, that makes sense.
Oh, yes.
And takes her up.
Let's earmark that for later for the design conversation. Jungle or forest?
So he takes her up to the top of this tree, right? And he sings a song. He sings a breakaway pop hit called At the Top of the World.
And the reason why is because he's trying to get her away from the stream that he just drank from, because she was thirsty because she was running in the woods. He drank from a stream and she's like, I'm thirsty. And he's like, no, let's go look at the top of the tree.
Right. He's like, you
Yes.
shouldn't drink from that stream. That would be bad. And we're like, the audience, because we don't know anything, we're like, oh, is it poisoned? Does the water
Yeah.
taste bad? Is it?
Yeah.
We don't know.
There's a breakout scene where Winnie's mom realizes that Winnie's not there and
Yeah.
calls her buddy Constable. Constable comes and says that him and his little sidekick Hugo are going to help find Winnie for them.
And it's very important to this story. The constable is very dumb, and his little sidekick is very smart.
And I love them together.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
kind of a wacky team where
Yeah.
the sheriff or whatever, the constable is dumb but thinks he's smart, and the deputy is actually smart.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
vaudeville duo.
It's classic
Yes.
stuff. Okay, so then we go to the Tuck's house where we meet the rest of the Tucks. We meet Pa Tuck. We meet older brother Miles. Miles?
We meet Carolee Carmello's wig.
Whoa.
We meet everyone.
I might have buried the lead at this point. Ma Tuck is played by the incredible Carolee Carmello, the unstoppable Carolee Carmello.
Have we talked about anyone more?
Oh. Carolee Carmello in this show, as always, is a delight. I will say that right now. I can't save that for the
Absolutely.
cast. She is just absurd. So they chat for a bit, and they reveal very quickly that they, as a family, are not only immortal, but indestructible.
Yes.
They cannot be killed by anything.
And how do we discover that again?
They just say it.
I think she wants to drink from the stream again, doesn't she? And then he
Sure.
makes a deal about it, and then he tells.
Yeah, that sounds
Oh,
right.
that's
yeah.
right, because he tells
Yeah.
Andrew Keenan Bolger, what's his character's name again?
Jesse.
Jesse, thank you. So Jesse tells, but his family doesn't want him to, or his brother doesn't want him to?
Yeah, and then they just kind of like give up very quickly about like, well, she already knows, so let's just tell her the whole story.
Fill around the
Keeper.
whole deal.
Miles and Jesse kidnap Winnie together.
Right. But before that, they sing a song where they actually talk about how, as a family, they all accidentally drank from this stream and then discovered, oh, wait, now we're immortal and we are indestructible, because there's one point where Jesse's like, you could literally shoot me with a gun and I wouldn't die.
Yes.
So they're actual superheroes, and this somehow doesn't become like The Incredibles.
No.
Because they should be off fighting crime.
I think it has to do with the fact that it's old-timey, and crime back then was like stealing horses, and people didn't care as much.
Oh, good point.
So then the two Tuck boys, those mother Tuckers, kidnap Winnie, right?
Yes.
That was one.
Oh,
that was
they
one.
sure
One of
do.
3 in this episode.
I was gonna say,
Count them all, then send in your ballot, and you get a prize for Monkeys and Playbills.
Ooh.
Should count them all. I just told you there was 3.
yeah. Good job, Paul.
They kidnap her and something because they find their way to the fair.
Well, that comes after. They kidnap her and they take her to the house. And then, like most families do, they say, sleep over.
Right.
And
Great.
we'll take you back in the morning. And so they end up putting them in the attic, Winnie and Jessie. And then Winnie and Jessie decide that the attic's no fun and they want to sneak out.
And then they sneak out, and it's very important. Winnie ends up dressed in boy clothes. They dress her up in disguise, and they go to the fair.
Winnie doesn't want to get recognized, so that's why she dresses up.
That was my impression as well. Yeah, she doesn't want to get discovered because she knows a bunch of people she knows will be at the fair. So they go to the fair. There's a lot of strutting at the fair as well. The people who have been strutting in the parade or who are strutting in like as Midsummer are now strutting at the fair.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The yellow man, the man in the yellow suit, hears a song. Somehow hears this old song and deduces that the Tucks are immortal.
There's a music box, and whenever he hears this tune, he hears it in the forest, and because the mom has a music box, right? And she only plays it at certain points, and she plays it in the woods, and that's how the man in the yellow hat hears it, and is like, they're here. I'm gonna look for them.
Point of order, isn't the man in the yellow hat Curious George?
That is correct, yes.
Yep. Isn't it the man in the yellow suit is what we want, right?
Yep.
But he does also wear a yellow hat.
Very
so.
good.
He does. He really does.
The other thing that I remember happening, because the man in the yellow outfit,
Full head to toe.
the evil banana, he is an age guesser. Like he guesses, like knows people's ages, and he has a specific like checklist basically that he uses. This is again my understanding of this.
Like he's part of the carnival.
Yes, and so he has this, checklist that he goes down: shoe size, height, blah blah blah, and looks into Jessie's eyes and sees that something is off. And I guess sees the wisdom and the age in the eyes, and then that coupled with the sound from the music box, it's like, bam, I know what's happening.
It's still, even with that in mind, that's a bit of a leap for me, but that's okay. We'll get to that.
I know it is. Yeah.
So then we're away from the fair. Jessie knows that the man in the yellow pants knows.
Yeah, because he tries to catch him.
Right.
Because he calls him out and he pulls a knife on him.
Right.
Right? Like, after everything kind of settles down, it gets a little chill, and they're just hanging out at the end of the carnival that's turning, or the fair that's starting to, like, go down for the night. And then he starts going and questioning Jessie and tries to age guess him again. And then he pulls a knife on him, and he spills the beans and says that he knows what's going down.
But then we find our way back to the forest, and Jessie says to Winnie, you're 11, I'm 17. He sings a song, but you should wait another 6 years until you're 17. Then you should drink from the spring so you'll be 17 forever. Then we can get married. Time for Act 2. Act 2 starts with the man in the yellow shoes doing a shoe dance.
Oh, yeah. Because every Act 2 needs a soft shoe.
Absolutely.
This is something we've learned.
Yeah.
And this is with all the carnival buddies.
Well, the carnival buddies, very bizarre, but it's also very charming because Terrence Mann can do no wrong. Even in a very bizarre role like this. Then, does Winnie talk with Miles?
Yeah, and Miles spills the beans about his story.
That's right. So Miles, Act 2, now that we've done all this exposition in Act 1, Act 2 kind of delves into the philosophical questions of what does it mean to live forever. So we hear from Miles, the older brother, and how he actually had a family, started a family with a woman, had a kid, and then his wife, his partner, the mom of his kid, was like, no, we gotta go because this is all weird and you're not getting any older and I can't handle this.
And they chose not to drink from the spring, I think.
They chose not. He was like, you should drink from the spring. And they were like, no, thank you, I'm good.
Yeah, I think he actually helped them choose not to. I think he wanted them to live a normal life, and they said that they would just figure it out as they go.
And Miles is really upset because Winnie, in her disguise, was wearing his son Thomas's clothes, right?
Yes.
Like that was the disguise.
Yep.
So we hear about that, and Miles is not very happy about that at all. Naturally, that makes sense. There's something else in here. Oh, is this where the man in the yellow jacket goes and finds the constable?
Yep.
Yeah.
So two worlds collide. We've had like one scene with the man in the yellow overcoat and one scene with the constable.
Yep.
And now they're meeting together.
They meet at Winnie's house.
Yeah.
The man with the yellow gloves says, if I find this spring that gives you immortality, can I own the forest?
I don't think he even mentions it. I think he just says, "Can I buy your forest?"
Oh,
Yeah.
fair enough.
To the Fosters, because it's the Fosters forest.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So now the forest, along with the spring, belongs to the man with the yellow mustache, and now
Yellow
we
everything.
find ourselves. And now we find ourselves on a fishing trip.
And doesn't the man in the yellow socks say that he knows where Winnie is and is like holding that as ransom?
Oh, that's right.
I think so. Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Totally. Now are we at the fishing trip?
So
You just
They're on
wanna
a
go
fishing
this
trip.
fishing trip.
Well, that's the next thing I remember. Pawtuck sings a song
about the wheel. It's the wheel.
But the wheel!
Winnie.
Right.
It keeps on spinning.
It's kind of an exploration of the nature of immortality and the nature of time and getting older.
And I think he was trying to remind her about like, don't drink the spring because you need to have a life.
Yes.
That's the circle
Yeah.
of life.
It's actually, it hasn't been that great being immortal, being a superhero.
Yep.
It's kind of been a drag. Oh wait, the man in the yellow kerchief has found the tux, and he's gonna shoot everyone. He's got a gun.
He's found Jesse.
He's found Jesse. He's kidnapped Jesse. You better look out. He's got you. But then they just straight up murder the man?
He takes Winnie because he realizes that there's no consequence if he kills or tries to kill the Tuck family.
Doesn't Ma shoot him?
She just like knocks him over the head and kills him. So that conflict's very bizarre, and it's not really clear why it's in there. But then we're at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The Tucks are like, we gotta get moving on. We can't just live by this spring forever. And Jesse's like, Winnie, I'm gonna give you a
vial.
A water bottle full of a vial of this water. Drink it when you're 17, and then I'll find you.
And Mom leaves the music box.
It's also important, we forgot to mention throughout this show, there's been this awesome toad puppet hopping around the stage.
Yes.
This toad's a big character. Absolutely. Hopping left, hopping right, very charming. Love it. So Winnie goes back to her house, and she's like, should I live forever? Should I not? I don't know. Here, Mr. Toad, you live forever instead. And dumps it
Here's
on the
some
toad. Dumps the
immortality.
water on the toad. This is too great of a burden for me to bear, but you, innocent toad, you should be immortal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get a pantomimed dream ballet about the rest of Winnie's life, where she gets married, she has a kid, she marries the deputy.
Hugo!
And here as well, the ages, I don't know, we'll talk about the ages. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll talk. We'll figure it out. It's not the best thing in the world.
She has a kid.
They get married, they have a kid. Well, it's very funny. She goes behind, young Winnie goes behind the house.
Yes.
And apparently there's a dance studio behind the house because she comes out older and she
really
can dance
good
all
at
of a sudden.
dancing.
Yeah.
And really good at dancing.
She goes behind as Princess Fiona, the younger, and comes out a young woman.
She comes out as
So we have to
Yeah.
we have to assume there's a small dance studio in there with a sprung floor and some bars and an old ballet teacher. Yeah. So that goes on until we finally get to the end of Winnie's life and Winnie dies.
Oh.
And this is the reason that I've talked about a kid dying in Tuck Everlasting, because Winnie does die in
Right.
Tuck Everlasting.
See, but the issue is that it's
But she dies as
an old
Yeah.
woman. Like, it's not a kid.
That's the whole point. She dies having lived a
Yeah.
full life.
Yes.
And then the show ends with the Tucks coming back and finding Winnie's grave and being like, oh shit, Winnie's dead. Then the frog hops on. The
Yeah.
toad hops on and is like, but I'm alive. Why don't you date me?
Is that what the toad said? I totally missed that part.
I remember that. Wasn't
Oh,
that?
yeah.
It's the voice of Terrence Mann, I believe.
Back to haunt your dreams.
Back to haunt your dreams.
See, the thing I couldn't wrap my head around was how Jessie could recognize a toad. Like, I've
Right?
seen many a toad in my life, or frogs probably, but I don't think I've ever been like, wait, that's that
That's
frog?
the same
Wait a
one.
minute.
Yeah.
That's the toad that 70 years ago, this woman that I spent a week with was best friends with.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So that's Tuck Everlasting. Straightforward. Straight shot, right down the middle.
Okay, well done. Here's a concise one.
if we were going to license this, if we want to do this with our own high school aged theater company, what are we gonna hear?
Here is a gently more fleshed out version if you're going to license it. And this is from stageagent.com. Tuck Everlasting is based on the novel of the same name by Natalie Babbitt. It tells the story of a family who drink water from a magical spring and become immortal. When they encounter a young girl who lives in their rural New England town, she becomes friends with one of the sons, who soon offers her the secret to everlasting life. She then has to decide if she wants to join her new friends in immortality or if she will live out her normal life. Nary a mention of the man in the yellow ensemble.
I was just going to bring that up. And I think is there any more context that we need?
Oh, God.
Before we dive into this?
Let's just go for it.
Let's talk about the book. The book, as some people may know or some people may not, is the insider's term, the business term, what we in the biz use to refer to the script of a musical.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to be discussing, and when we discuss the book, we're discussing both the actual written dialogue, and we try to discuss the structure of the show as well in this category.
Book by Claudia Scheer and Tim Fetterly. So Claudia Scheer is like a performer turned writer who also had a really popular one-woman show, I guess, in the 90s that was like filmed for, I don't know if it was PBS or something. A very talented, fast-talking person. And then Tim Fetterly has written a lot of like young, like a YA audience books, like tons of that. And then also is a showrunner and creator on High School Musical, the series.
Oh, that's a good gig. Good for you.
So both really like seasoned in their own ways. Music and vocal arrangements by Chris Miller. Lyrics by Nathan Tyson. Welcome back, Nathan Tyson, from Amélie the musical. Based on the novel Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. And then music was orchestrated by John Clancy, who's orchestrated so many things. And then the dance music arrangements were by David Chase, also friend of the podcast. You name it, David Chase has done it.
It doesn't surprise me one bit that one of the authors of this book has a TYA background. Mm-hmm. Because this book has the kind of take every joke available strategy that you usually use to keep kids engaged.
Totally.
There are so many bits in this book. There are every jokes left and right. Cheap jokes, good jokes, bad jokes. Doesn't matter. We're doing jokes.
That is true. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and also it centers a kid, which I find in TYA is really important because you're writing stories for kids. You got to center the kid in it and there's some other stories as well, but I mean, Winnie's is the most important in theory.
And it's nice. Again, like I just go back to when I was a young 13-year-old girl being read this book about a girl who is also melodramatic in her way and being like, oh, cool, you think I could be the protagonist of this story. That's amazing. So I think there's something special about that too.
And knowing that there's something more. There's just gotta be when you're 13.
Yeah. Okay, so is she 13 or is she 11? Yeah, 'cause I had 13 in my head, but then the song at the end of Act 1 goes, 6 years from now, you will be 17.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So she's like 11.
But I've seen 13 in a bunch of other sources as well when they talk about the story of Tuck Everlasting.
I think she's older in the book, but I think they made her younger in this, potentially.
To match the actress's age, maybe?
Yes.
You know what I think it was?
Yeah.
If Winnie was too old, then automatically you go to a romantic relationship. And I think they were hoping to age her down as much as possible to try to space that gap out as much as possible so that it wasn't romantic.
Okay, so let's talk, because you've actually directed the show, Katie, and you directed it with kids, so you got into this, I'm sure, in a pretty fair way.
Yes.
Because it seems to me, just based on one watch and one listen, that their relationship is unquestionably romantic.
I don't think it can be. I think that's what the challenge
Doesn't
is.
He says in the end of Act 1, I'm gonna marry you. We're gonna get married.
But see, that the only way that we could make it work in our hearts and in the way that we did it was that it couldn't be romantic, or else it's creepy as fuck. So
I'll drink to that 300%.
And I honestly can get behind that choice. Absolutely.
I think it's an excellent choice, and when you look at the piece as a whole, because that's kind of what I was trying to justify on my watch as well.
Yeah.
And that makes it a much more beautiful story. That makes it much easier to swallow, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because as it stands, it's a 17-year-old who's mentally over 100. Anyways, the point is, this book gives you a lot of information very quickly and then slows way down.
Okay, I agree completely. That is
Yeah.
one of the things I wrote, was that I felt like in Act 1 especially, everything was very abrupt. There wasn't a lot of pretense. There wasn't a lot of, like, introduction, I guess, to any person. It all just sort of happened in a flash. And then in Act 2, I was like, oh, we've really settled into sort of a nice rhythm, and there's some really beautiful scene work happening.
I think a lot of the issues I have with this book in general, with the way it kind of shakes down, are inherent to the story. The biggest challenge I have is just the existence of the man in the yellow suit. Like, my feeling is kind of either have him actually be the villain, and, like, actually be a villain, and make the story kind of have him be a more important part of the story. Or get him out of there and let's actually explore mortality in a more significant way.
I actually have a thought about that. So I was a bit confused in terms of the tone, I guess, of this play specifically, because obviously this story is important to young audiences, but it also felt like they were maybe trying to mature it a little bit to appeal to parents. But when you do that, you actually muddy the waters a little bit. And I think that because they weren't writing for like one clear specific audience, it ended up being a little bit messy. And I think the man in the yellow outfit was one of those casualties of that kind of like wishy-washy tone.
I fully
because if he would have been full villain, he might have been too scary for the family audience that they were actually trying to appeal to.
Right.
And that only occurred to me watching the YouTube videos of opening night where like people were bringing their kids. And I was like, whoa, duh, this is a kid's show. But for me, it actually wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jill,
that's my take.
That's such an excellent point. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Katie.
I think he was a name, too.
Yep.
I honestly think they wrote him the part in the show so
Wow.
that they could have him in there. I think they like... He was the one that was kind of like bringing in the peeps, I think, at that time. Or one of them, at least.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now. Isn't the man in the yellow hat's not from the book?
No, he is in the book, but like...
As they were adapting that character for the musical, they were like, and we'll get Terrence Mann in here to do this.
Yeah.
He'll be the guy. Yeah, totally. I feel a similar way about the sheriff and the deputy there.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, what are you doing there? You've got like 2 scenes and you're just kind of goofballs. But man, that's great for kids, right? That's a perfect, like you said, it's a vaudeville act. It's going to play great with kids.
Yeah. And parents alike.
And I think they needed a husband for Winnie in the end. I think they literally needed, like, we need someone, but I don't want to make it random Joe coming in.
Yeah.
So let's hook it up to Hugo. Cute little Hugo.
So also I
Yes.
need to make a corrections corner because I've been saying his name wrong this entire time. Charles, and I've been saying Isherwood, but it's actually Isherwood. So my apologies, Charles, for getting your name wrong. So Charles Isherwood writes, Tuck Everlasting can sometimes be a little ham-handed in addressing its central theme, the notion that life's beauty is inseparable from its inevitable end. He's kind of getting at that same thing where it's like, we're kind of getting hit over the head with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was his hot take on the book.
I do feel like it could be edited down. If we were talking this was a true TYA show, I think someone could go and chop it and make it like a nice, sweet, action-packed hour and 20 minutes.
Yes, we love that.
Absolutely.
We love
Like
that.
cut out a couple verses of the wheel, like keep some of the stuff, but like
Yes.
I think you could really make a sick cut of this show.
So I'll go to the grading system if we're cool. So at Monkeys and Playbills, we have a tried and true rating system.
Scientifically proven, scientifically tested.
We wore our lab coats. Yeah. So we wager our monkeys against our playbills to find a final grading for the book. Paul, why don't you go first? Out of 10 playbills, how many monkeys do you give this book?
5.
Okay.
So that's 4 monkeys out of 10 playbills, but I'm going to add a understudy slip for jokes like, nothing's as fun as it used to be. You can say that again. Nothing's as fun as it used to be. Great jokes, classic
Written
jokes.
just for you.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So you get an understudy slip for that, bringing you up to 5.
Katie.
I'm gonna say a 7. And I will say the reason why, and these are my parameters, it's strong female leads, Not built on the conception that these people need to fall in love. If you play it that way.
Right, if you play it
very
with
good.
a caveat, yeah.
I don't know, it was a fun contemporary shot at trying to do something different.
And you had a good experience with it. You did it with your kids, and you guys had a real nice time.
And we
That's
made
great.
a really neat Greek chorus with like the ensemble and stuff. So I don't know.
Cute.
It was one of those heart shows that they just remember fondly. So I think that's why I give it a nice higher rating.
What about you, Jill?
I'm actually right in the middle. I'm a 6.
Sure.
I actually hate the humor of this.
You can say that again.
No,
I
not.
No.
There was something about the tone that really upset me. And again, I think this is a full thing. It's about each element of this play. But because I just am so connected to this book and I have such fond memories, and it just didn't play out in the same way, I think I found that hard to forget while I was watching the play.
Yeah.
So
That's fair as well.
yeah, but everyone said lines. I loved Act 2. I actually loved the way that it was breathing in a way that Act 1 did not.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, 6.
If they were to have made Act 1 like Act 2, do you think your rating would have heightened?
I think so.
And just make the
I
whole
think so
thing a
little bit.
meandering exploration of the nature of
Well,
immortality.
see, one or the other though, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, either you really flesh out everything or you condense everything.
They just need like a full another round of workshops and dramaturgy.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
For now, let's move on to the music and the lyrics.
You can't trust a man dressed in yellow. You go? It's like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? Why is this here?
Okay, let's talk about Miller and Tyson.
Yes, let's.
Oh,
Yes,
man. Miller and Tyson have won me over despite myself.
Oh.
I try not to be one of those people who's like, all contemporary musical bad. Musicals died with Stephen Sondheim. Unacceptable. A lot of the time, there's a lot of contemporary musical theater songwriters who some of them are doing incredible work and some of them are potentially not quite doing their best work.
Okay.
And there's, just in general, there's some composition techniques that a lot of the music being written for musical theater has gotten simpler and just less interesting to me musically. This is a wild generalization.
Mm-hmm.
When I would hear songs from Tuck Everlasting here and there, my first exposure to Tuck Everlasting was playing Top of the World for for an audition for someone. And I was like, ugh, what is this? Yikes. And Exactly. At the top of the world. Since then, getting to know Miller and Tyson a little bit more, there's no denying they are contemporary musical theater songwriters at their contemporariest. You know what I mean? Like, everything is all...
Absolutely. Totally. 1, 2, 3, dun, 2, 3, dun. Yes.
like, variations on that, left and right.
Or that really, like, that driving, like, dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, we love that. Yeah.
Or do you mean, like...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. At the top of the world.
But that's it. That's exactly, like, those kind of conventions of contemporary musical theater that drive kind of underneath everything we're hearing right now. I would say from, like, 2010 onward.
At least. There's traces of it far beyond that. There's, like, William Finn and Jason Robert Brown are both starting to do this kind of stuff before then. All of this to say, despite myself, I went in ready to be like, this is just going to be a wash. This is going to be like, I'm not interested in listening to this. And it's kind of charming. It's got these soaring melodies. It lifts, it soars. It could use a few more hooks. It could use like some catchier choruses to really lock it in. Miller and Tyson are gentle. They're wistful. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a nice way to think about it, though.
Yeah.
And I think this show is gentle. I think it's gentle and whimsical, and I think when it comes out of the gentleness is where it, like, gets jarring.
Yeah.
Is that it just needs to sit in that gentle zone.
Yeah.
And be okay with being, like, a gentle piece.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point.
So overall, I like this music, and a couple of them I even really love.
So, Katie, what did you think of the music?
I think I was charmed with it too, the same way. Like, I think there was a lot of stuff that I really loved about it. I think there's some stuff that's too long.
Yeah.
Like, the wheel I think is beautiful, but I think it can be condensed. And I love the Thomas story, and all of it is so important and crucial, but I do feel like somehow it could be squeezed together too. I love You Can't Trust a Man for, like, the fun cheekiness of it, but I feel like that one could, like, you know, there's some it just doesn't mix with all the other stuff.
There is an incredible line in You Can't Trust a Man, one of the funniest fucking lyrics I've ever heard, where it's something about the man in the yellow suit and why people are dressed in yellow are evil, which is very bizarre, and you can throw that away, but it's funny. And they talk about how you can't trust a man who is fondest of suits that are jaundiced.
Yes.
That's so funny. What a funny line.
Yeah.
Tyson,
That's
nicely
like a
done.
Sondheim. That's a Sondheim
Yeah, that's a
lyric.
straight up Sondheim lyric, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was very sweet and very gentle, and I loved all the storytelling in it. So I think I like it.
Yeah.
I find it catchy.
Yeah.
I find that it all really blends together for me.
Yeah.
Like, if you played a bit of one song, I would probably call it another. Like, I just don't really know how to separate any of them from each other, which I don't know if that's a bad thing, because I think, again, that goes with, like, they were able to find a cohesive tone for the show, which is also difficult to do. I think my favorite part about it was actually the arrangements. Like, I think that's what really fleshed out the music for me. I think otherwise I would have found it a bit, like, simplistic and basic, but I think the arrangements really made it for me.
Like the orchestrations, you mean?
Orchestrations and dance arrangements, yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Dance arrangements are really nice. No surprise. David Chase is awesome. This is not my favorite John Clancy orchestration, if I can nerd out for a second.
What's your favorite, Fun Home?
Oh, easily. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fun Home orchestration is stunning. He makes a really cool choice to take things away from being piano-centric.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like, a lot of the time with contemporary musicals, they're written from piano, and they sit in kind of that piano descending harmonic motion that I was just kind of playing there. And they come in here and they're like, not this time. This is going to be guitar and mandolin driven.
It was so guitar driven, which I liked.
Yeah, I love the strings aspect.
My note would be, since we're here, I find, and since I've said something, so now I've got to back it up, in taking out the piano, they haven't replaced the middle of the orchestration with something else.
Oh, sure.
So it's high and it's low and it feels hollow.
Right.
Rather than full a lot of the time. So while I can see the logic and I admire the logic, and there's still a lot of art in this orchestration. It's very artfully done. There's no middle to it.
I think there needs to be more chorus stuff in it too. If they're gonna, if we're rewriting for an ensemble, I think we need to, like, flesh out the ensemble a little bit, throw them in there a little bit more.
Full ensemble or no ensemble? Like, I want one or the other.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. I'll echo that wholeheartedly. This kind of music is at its best when you've got these interesting vocal arrangements, the kind of like the Spring Awakening thing, the thing that Spring Awakening pioneered, where every song has like 5 layers of people just singing. Let's get that in there. That's when this kind of music shines.
Yeah.
I feel like the ensemble didn't say any words. Like, they just went ooh, ah, and na 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 for most of the show, except for Partner in Crime. They, like, got to echo some actual words. Yeah.
They do a lot of, like, na na hey ya, oh ah.
Yeah. It veers almost a little bit Irish in a lot of ways at times, just because of the strings and the waltz, and because Miller and Tyson write so many waltzes, so many
Yeah.
Maybe it's a New Hampshire culture thing that we don't get.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Out of 10 Playbills, how many monkeys are we giving this music and lyrics?
7.5.
Whoa.
Yeah. It would be an 8 or an 8.5 if there was, like, some more hooks, if the choruses were better. Like, that's what Miller and Tyson are missing to bring them into that next level.
I'm so shocked.
I'm shocked, too. I did not expect that. I expected to go on this podcast and rip this apart. But I don't think I can. I think it's nice.
Okay, Katie, what do you think?
6.75 because it needs more ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to have more ensemble in it. And so I can't sit at a 7, but I'm darn close.
Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling the same. I was going to say a 6.5.
Reasonable.
That's reasonable.
I don't know. I don't remember it that well.
It's very fair. Yeah.
Like, it wasn't bad. It certainly was not bad music.
I mean, I'm not listening to this driving my car.
Right.
You know, like, I'm not, like, popping it into, like, listen to it as I'm driving down the street. I don't know.
That's so fun. Because I think I'm going to listen to it again tomorrow. I swear to God, and I didn't expect this. I think I'm going to listen to this again.
I love this for you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the direction and choreo.
Directed and choreographed by Casey Nicholaw, who has done pretty much everything, and apparently at this time that this was running had 4 shows running on Broadway. So Aladdin was running Something Rotten, and then Casey Nicholaw recently did Prom. Oh yeah, co-directed Book of Mormon. Did Prom recently. Mean Girls. Like, just the list goes on. Casey Nicholaw, so busy. Music director was Mary Mitchell Campbell, who welcome back from Big Fish, who did Mean Girls as well.
Yeah.
So this maybe was like a Mean Girls team situation. Like, they got everyone back together for Mean Girls.
In general, it's worth saying there's still not enough women conducting and music directing in the
True.
industry today. The Pit's still a bit of a boys' club, and it's fucking fantastic to see a music director doing such excellent work.
Couldn't agree more. And then the associate director was Patrick Wetzel. Associate MD was Nils Peter Ankerblom. And then the associate choreographer was Stacy Todd Holt.
So they leap in this choreo a lot, hey? They're just leaping.
It's called a chassé.
There's a lot of like flying, like
Yes.
flying and whooshing.
Yeah.
Tombeys. So many tombeys. So many
Yeah.
taleves. It never ends.
But like also strutting, right? I think I texted you guys this last night when I was watching it.
Yeah.
There's always like, they're leaning back and they're throwing one foot out
Yeah.
and they're kind of doing their hands like I'm strutting down the street.
Yep.
So I guess we're talking about the choreo right now. But because it's all Casey Nicholaw, you kind of go, oh, it's like all of his stuff. So I guess this is the perfect opportunity to just talk about everything.
I think so, yeah.
So other than the ensemble doing stuff, is there much else in terms of movement?
Oh, not until the ballet. I feel like the ballet
Yeah.
is like the
The
piece.
Dream Ballet.
Yeah.
The dream ballet.
Yeah.
And what a dream it is.
Honestly, it was probably my favorite part of the whole play.
I loved it. I'm like, can more shows please have dream ballets in them again? Bring them back.
We miss that.
I like them. They tell so much story.
I had trouble with it because it was so... Just because it felt out of left field.
Right. Sure.
And I feel like if you're going to start to employ that artistic language, that vocabulary, you've got to set it up before the last 10 minutes.
And I think you can use the chorus to do that.
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
They can help you set it up and bring it in at the beginning, bring it in the middle, and then pow at the end.
So, like, in terms of transitions, you
Yeah.
could actually establish that through
Precisely.
those earlier in the play. I see. I like that idea.
That they bring the story in and carry the story through with them.
I just love storytelling without words. It's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite things. It gives us an opportunity to just start to breathe with like the people on stage. And when you're watching that, it's actually quite breathtaking and you feel so smart. I'm not kidding you. There is something so empowering about being like, I get what they're doing even though they're not saying any words.
When they let go of the hands and you're like, got it, they died. I know.
I cried. And I did not think I would cry during this musical for that reason.
Yeah.
I thought I would cry because it was bad.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I cried because I actually felt really connected. So yay, Dream Ballet.
For the listeners back at home, it's like they're holding hands, but then every time they release the hand and they move backwards, they die.
Yes.
What about the rest of the choreo?
I take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I don't want it, actually, if I'm being honest.
Yep, I feel the same way. There's, for all the leaping in the world, I found myself feeling like, man, this is pretty goofy. And this ensemble is selling the shit out of it, but this choreo is very bizarre.
Do you think it's like the problem we had last time with Everyday Rapture, where we weren't actually sure what the purpose of the ensemble was?
Jill, I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, because sometimes I was like, oh, they're very useful because they are the people at the fair. But in other moments I was like, are they even real? I don't understand their function. And so I think that's why the choreo didn't make sense all the time.
I wrote down, who the fuck is this ensemble?
Yeah.
And I think there has to be some, like if they are in the beginning, there has to be some sort of, like, fairy-like quality or some sort of magical quality that somehow they have to carry that through in all of the things.
Yes.
Or else it just doesn't flat out make sense. Like, when they go to the fair, you're like, wait a minute, you're human, though. Now. What?
Right.
I don't know.
So if they were perhaps manipulating the sets,
Yes,
and making things happen,
yes,
orchestrating the story, that actually would have been a really good function for the ensemble.
totally.
So Katie, as a person who has actually directed this play, what were your thoughts and feelings on the direction?
The one image that I really remembered was they had blocking that was like it was like in a circle almost for the part when they killed the man in the yellow suit, and I was like, wait a minute, this is so different than a lot of the other stuff that they were doing. All of the stuff was very like not flat, but like, and then all of a sudden they changed it and had this like circular stuff, and I was like, where did that come from? Why isn't that in here more? I like that. And I was so fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And I wish that there was like more of that, because I feel like when they got to that point right at the end, I was like, that's cool. But hit or miss for me. It was kind of plain.
There was this moment as well, right at the very start when Winnie sings her first song there. Dramaturgically, it makes sense that she goes out of her house, but she won't leave the front yard.
Yes.
Like she's behind the gate.
Yes.
But man, the actress ends up feeling very trapped between that and the costume she's in. It feels trapped and constricted. And once again, dramaturgically, it makes sense. But thinking about it, it seems to me that like the first 20 minutes of a musical, and especially like an I Want song like that, it's so important to nail that and get the audience on your side and captivated in that first 20 minutes. And even if dramaturgically it makes sense, just from that purely emotional reaction standpoint, it was disappointing and hard to watch.
I think they were at the mercy of certain design aspects more often than they maybe were even aware of.
There's no question of that.
Yeah, like they were just tied to these anchor points that defined each scene. Whereas if we were dealing with an ensemble that could manipulate things and participate, we actually, there might have been more freedom in terms of where things could be.
Oh, yeah.
But because there was this double revolve and there was this like door and then the Tuck's kitchen.
And the branch that was like, here I am.
Oh,
the branch.
The branch. Yeah, welcome the tree, everyone. Like, yeah. I think they were at the mercy of the design a bit. And so that limited much of the direction. That's what I think.
Let's give this a rating and let's talk about the design. Because we've been dancing around this.
I know we have, yeah. Out of 10 Playbills, how many monkeys are we giving this direction and choreo?
4.
Oh, wow.
Hold on. It was going to be a 7, minus an 8th for each leap. And that took us down to 4.
Probably at a -5 because I think you miscounted how many leaps there were, Paul.
How many leaps are there in Tuck Everlasting? Audience members, please count.
Yeah,
send it to Monkeys and Playbills. You can win a prize.
Yeah. The prize is like when we're able to see each other again, I'll give you a high five.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, Katie, what about you?
Maybe a 6. I mean, who might have, I don't know what they were working with, but yeah, I would say maybe a 6. Just because I wanted more of that one scene in like the whole show.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree. Like the Dream Ballet on its own is like a 12
Oh my God,
for me.
yes.
Like I literally could watch that for 2 hours.
That was stunning.
But I think because of the muddiness of the function of the ensemble for the rest of the play, it really drags that down. So I'm going to be about a 6.5 for my final rating.
All right. We've been bouncing around it all night. I'm sure the audience is dying to know what's going on with the design.
Scenic design by Walt Spangler, who did Scandalous, A Christmas Story, and Escape to Margaritaville.
Yes.
Which I'd love to talk about someday.
Oh, yeah.
Costume design by Greg Barnes, who did Something Rotten, Mean Girls, and Pretty Woman, and many other things. Lighting design by Kenneth Posner from Mean Girls as well, Pretty Woman as well, and Beetlejuice. We have sound design by the busiest sound designer ever, Brian Ronan.
Absolutely.
If you name it, he did it.
He designed it, yeah.
Hair designed by Josh Marquette. I was hoping it would be Paul Huntley so I could have a Carmello wig joke, but it's someone new. Makeup design by Milagros Medina Cerdera. And then the moving light programmer was David Arch.
Oh, fascinating.
I thought I should call attention to that because I think that was a huge part of the design. Was the moving lights and kind of the projection stuff. So
Totally.
Yeah.
This is a big fucking Broadway set.
Oh my god.
Oh,
So much money in this.
For those of you at home, there is a revolve that also...
Two.
There's 2 revolves,
It's a double, yeah.
and one of them comes out of the stage in a cylinder and raises people up. Also, every scene changes on tracks.
The toad included.
The toad
Toad's
included.
on a track.
Yeah.
Love it.
It is a set that rivals freaking Les Mis or Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
It is
Oh, yeah.
a much more extravagant set than we've seen for many more extravagant musicals than this on this podcast. It is definitely a surprisingly extravagant set for such a intimate story.
Does anyone know how much it actually cost?
Not a clue.
I think it might have been like around a buttload.
Yeah, oh yeah,
just like
totally. Somewhere between a lot and $1 billion.
it was a lot. And for such a, like you said, like for such a simplistic story that doesn't have like 9 billion different scenes, like it all took place in the forest. And yes, there's a house, and yes, there's another house, but like it's all in the forest. It's the same forest, and everything happens in the same place. So like the amount of changes and stuff was extravagant.
Like, yeah, there was just too much stuff. They just kept trying to add, they just added things when they were like, oh, I don't think it's clear that we're in the Tux house cottage thing. So let's add a kitchen, a full kitchen.
I will say, like, the tech is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things like revolves and tracks are a type of theater magic that I'll never quite get tired of. It's such a... Maybe it's a bit of a cheat because it's, you know, it's involving machinery and the live performing arts thing, but...
I don't know. I think there's
I
something
like
really
it. I like them.
nice about
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
It can be smooth. It can be smooth and really cool if it's used properly. My biggest problem with the set was that it just didn't match the world that I had created in my head when I'd read the book.
Right.
I don't know. It felt really like everything felt like it was cut out using construction paper.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't think that's wrong. Like, I think that's a great creative choice, but I just don't think it was correct as far as what I had been picturing.
See, I just felt like it was too much. I love, because it's such a simple story, I just wanted it to be, like, simple, and everything that came in, I feel like it was, like, if someone, having done a lot of, like, fringe shows that you scrounge for everything, and you're literally like, I have a chair that I use all the time, we can use that, and it's all of a sudden like, hey, Katie, do a fringe show, we're just gonna give you $10,000 to do it, and then I just use every freaking penny.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point.
This is what I was going to ask, Katie. I happen to know for a fact that JMTC's production budget is less than a buttload.
Yeah.
So, how did you solve for some of these many locations that were going on?
We did it so simply. We had some like risers in the back that were Winnie's house. We had some like really beautiful flats that came in as the Tux house and created like a space for the Tux house. And then we rented the U of W theater, like the Asper theater there, and
great.
they allowed us to build a tree kind of in the corner off of their catwalk. And Aaron, who's
Great.
Aaron
Frost.
Aaron Frost built us this beautiful tree that the kids were able to climb up in, and they had the time of their life being able to stand in a freaking tree at the front of the stage. So it was really simple, and it
You
was
want to
nice.
cry.
Aaron Frost is the carpentry prop and master carpenter at the University of Winnipeg theater program.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful man. If he's listening right now, hello, good to see you, Aaron. I hope you're doing well.
Oh, best
He also
human.
made us some trees too, and they were beautiful,
what a
like just like
dream.
hanging trees, just nice flat trees. They were beautiful.
A true friend of Winnipeg's theater community.
Yeah.
Incredible, dude.
Oh,
See, but that's the production I want.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
and it's so story focused. You don't need the
Yes.
extra stuff. Like it's so story centric. So you just need to focus on the people telling the story.
That's absolutely how I feel. This is very much like they went more is more on this rather
Yeah.
than
Rather than trusting.
trusting a really nice score and a as we discussed, a book that's not perfect by any means, but you're already in on this show. Just be in on this show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay, what did y'all think about the costumes? I'm judging by the silence that we just sort of didn't really notice them. Like they weren't really top of mind.
I liked Winnie's green in the contrast with her beautiful red hair.
Love that.
The ensemble, I was kind of like, okay, so you're trying to give us a period-ish with the style.
Right.
But I think I was just, I didn't find the reason for it.
But even so, they were actually kind of dressed a little bit Regency. Like, they kind of looked like late 1700s England.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I thought we were in the late 1800s. Like, it just felt a little bit muddy.
Or like the other thing at the top, when they're at the top and they're all in the white and like the white tails and everything, was like Hamilton kind of, you know what I mean? In a similar vein, I wrote down the same joke that we used for Jeremy Jordan in Bonnie and Clyde, which is, Andrew Keenan Bolger, you forgot to get changed.
Yeah.
You're still in your Newsies costume. Yeah. Change. You got to wear in Tuck Everlasting now.
Yeah. It's the same. That's so true. All right, folks.
Yeah.
Out of 10 playbills, how many monkeys are we giving this design?
I feel bad because judging the design on its own, there's no doubt. There's a lot of, I like a big old Broadway show and a big old Broadway set. Mm-hmm. So if I was just judging it on its own, I don't know, this is like an 8. They're freaking flying in the air and they're, you know what I mean? They're rotating. It's great. But like everything the reason we do musical theater is not to show off these technical elements. If we were doing that, we would go do like Cirque du Soleil or something, which is great and fantastic. I love Cirque du Soleil. We serve the story in theater first and foremost. And man, this design does not serve the story. So I'm going to go 5. I can't give a design that's executed this well any lower than that.
Yeah.
But I can't go any higher than that in good conscience.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think like just on the reason that it's too much for me. Like, I think it was beautiful. I think there was a lot of really awesome stuff in there. It was gorgeous. It was vibrant. It was like captivating to the eye, but I just thought it was like too much. And I wanted to focus more on the people that were doing the thing. And so I think I'm a 5-2 just for that reason, although I'm a little jealous of the budget and I wouldn't mind doing it with that kind of budget.
But yes, I'm a 5 as well. I sit right in the middle.
Is that the first ever consensus with a guest?
I think
consensus?
so. I think it might be. There may be one other time where we might have agreed.
Oh. Daphne, be sure to cut in like a nice sound effect there for like that's a special event. Yeah, I'll leave it up to you. You can decide. It's your choice.
Yeah, thank you for your notes.
Yeah. Preemptive notes. Speaking of notes, should we get into the performances?
Oh, I would love to.
So here we go. Who do we love? Everyone? Okay, cool. Me too.
So I did not know that Fetterly was in this. So we started the show, and she made her first appearance on stage, and I was like, geez, that mom, she's got to be straight out of Fun Home or something, right? She's just incredible. Listen to that voice. And then she sang a bit more, and I was like, what?
You didn't know, Paul.
It's her. I didn't know going in.
What a magnificent surprise. I wish I could have seen this play not knowing that it was Fetterly Carmello.
It was a good day.
So we can all agree we love her and her wig.
Fetterly, you forgot to change your wig from Parade. Take it off. Change.
Okay, but this is actually what I want to say. I was on YouTube today. I realized that maybe I've been complimenting Fetterly Carmello's wigs, not realizing it might actually be her hair.
Oh no!
Because unless she wears wigs just in life, which again, no, that is not a judgment. This is like maybe she just is a wig person. But like on the red carpet, her hair looked perfect to me. It was like curled beautifully. It was like a rich sort of like reddish, like an auburn color. And I was like, wait a second, have I been thinking this entire time she's been wigged, but it might just be her hair?
Do people like on Broadway wear their real hair?
Some people. So I want to write to Fetterly Carmello, but I'm not sure that she will write back. Katie, do you have any experience with people in this show not writing you back?
I Instagrammed Andrew Keenan Bolger to say, hey, guess what? We're doing the Canadian premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had these two, like, just killer new artists coming in, doing the role that he did. And so I was like, do you have any like, fun words or anything special that you, like, could gift them that I could bring to them and say, hey, guess what? Nothing.
Radio silence.
And I was like, come on! Because I feel like everyone is human, everyone's gonna respond, and I guess maybe his publicist or whoever is doing his Insta didn't see my message.
I was gonna say, I'd be surprised if that message actually got through to him. You know what I mean? And that's... I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt.
And he posts a lot. He posts a lot on his Insta.
He makes all these web series as well, right? He's got a... Talk about a guy who has made his career off of the internet.
So do we like Andrew Keenan Bolger? Do we like his performance?
I like it a lot. I think it's very charming.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because Jill did that thing of like, oh, you said something I don't agree with. Isn't that nice? That's cool that you think that. That's cool that
so
you're
funny
wrong. That's exciting that you're wrong.
Me enough now to know that about me. No, I don't disagree. I think he's quite charming. I think before we recorded, I knew he didn't reply to Katie, so I'm carrying that with me. Because that's my friend, and you really hurt my friend.
Disappointed. You know what? He reminded me of a young Mickey Rooney, like this sweet, charming, like goofy. And I have like a very soft spot for Mickey Rooney. And I saw him and I was like, I'm in.
That's a really great comparison.
Yeah.
I think that's adorable.
Yeah.
My second favorite performer was actually the other brother, Robert Lindsay.
Miles.
Miles. And I don't know what it was, because there was something about him, like, he was the most reasonable person, like, character in the play. Where I was like, oh, I identify with you. Like, you're all logic, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I also thought his singing voice was really beautiful. And then I was reading his bio, and apparently he was the understudy for Joseph Cable in South Pacific. And I was like, oh, that makes really good sense. And I would have liked to have seen that.
I would have liked to see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But what do we think of Sarah Charles Lewis? This show kind of lives and dies with her.
I love her.
10s, 10s, 10s across the board.
Absolutely. Yep.
Like, all of her thoughts were right there. And she just went with every single one of them. Like, there wasn't a moment where she dropped the ball.
And a beautiful voice, a crystal clear, singing it like it was written for her.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole about her last night because I was like, man, he hasn't done anything else. And there's all sorts of cute stuff about how, like, her class, her school class, like, through her happy Broadway party or something like that, or go have fun on Broadway kind of thing.
Oh my gosh. What if they were all really bitter and they were doing,
It was
go
a
have
sarcastic
fun
party.
on Broadway, like.
We're over here eating cake, loser.
And then I also want to call attention to the detective duo.
Oh yeah.
And I believe it's revealed that they're father and son, right?
Yes. At the end, there's just a little button where he's like, "You're good, son." Yeah.
It's cute. And I quite like them. I don't know what it was, but I'm a sucker for that sort of simple, silly, comedic exchange. And they were very sweet together.
I thought the Hugo especially, it's Michael Wartella.
Yeah.
I thought he was very funny and very charming. Yeah. What about the rest of our main cast here? So Carolee Carmello as Maytuck.
So there's a couple other people. There's the dad from Dear Evan Hansen.
And there is...
Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann. Carolee Carmello's like fine.
As always.
Content-wise, I take some issue with her song. She sings this song about how a woman always remembers the day she was most beautiful. And it's kind of got this element of like, oh, as you age, you get less beautiful. And it's this weird thing. But man, in her hands, she finds something emotionally resonant and beautiful within it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, man, you have taken these lyrics which are frustrating and you've brought something beautiful out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a beautiful love song between her and her husband.
How frustrating to be stuck on the time that you're not the most beautiful.
Yeah.
like, could she not have been stopped at 26? Like, man. It's like just constantly like, I can't fix this. This is it.
Oh. But she looks bomb, though. She looks so good.
She looks
Sure, it was a
So I'm
beautiful
like,
woman.
wait, are you
Absolutely.
telling me you were prettier than that at some point?
Yeah, shut
Rude.
up. Shut up, Carolee.
We got Michael Park
That's his name.
as Paw Tuck there. Yeah,
Angus.
he's good.
He's a reliable performer.
Absolutely, he's a workhorse.
Yep, he's great.
And we've got the legendary Terrence Mann.
So, Kate, did I read this correctly that he was like Javert?
Terrence Mann is the original Javert, yeah. Or the original Broadway Javert.
And now he's the man dressed in yellow.
And I believe the original Broadway Rum Tum Tugger?
Stop!
He's the original Beast as well, right? The original Broadway Beast.
Oh, he's done everything.
Wow.
He's had an outstanding career. I saw him live. I didn't realize this. I saw him in Pippin, and he was Charles. Oh, it was incredible. It was outstanding. Other than, like, Andrea Martin and Patina, who were the
Yeah.
standouts, Terrence Mann was my favorite. Wars of Science was incredible. It was so good. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
neat.
Beast.
Just an outstanding career. I've been, during quarantine, one of the shows that I've kind of gone to when I don't have anything else to watch is I'm watching through Sense8, that the Wachowski sisters show, Sense8.
Okay.
It's good. He's in that. That's the end of the story. He's good in that.
Great.
When we were watching this shitty bootleg, I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that combination of white beard and really teeny tiny glasses. Because it's the exact same thing he's sporting on Sense8. And I was like, boom, called it. I know him from nothing else.
That's so funny. Okay, we also need to just call attention to the ensemble because they do it.
great.
They do everything that they're asked to do
Oh, yeah.
without even making fun of it once.
Absolutely.
And I want more.
No, just in general, I love this cast. I'm like, it's a shame this show closed because this cast has chemistry.
Yeah.
They're fun. They're working hard. I'd like to imagine in my heart of hearts that this chemistry was brought from a real camaraderie within the cast, that this was a really nice working environment.
Oh, that's a nice thought.
Everyone seems really nice to each other and it seems like a really positive environment that led to, even as we've discussed, the show has a lot of problems here and there.
Yeah.
So I saw this and I'm like, oh, I bet they went to dinner before this and they had a nice time.
Aww. Yeah. Cute.
Yeah. We talked about the dance school that's behind the house.
You mean you talked about the dance school?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
agreed, but yes.
I also thought about, like, on a practical level, because during the Dream Ballet, they keep on going behind the house, and then like that's where how Winnie ages and a new person comes out. What do you think it must have looked like behind that house on stage with like 10 cast members all crouched?
There was an ASM back
Yeah.
there
There was an
giving everyone the prop or costume piece they needed to grow up. Giving them
Yeah,
the
like-
go.
Yeah.
finger to
Yeah.
the mouth, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
There was a very wonderful
Yeah.
ASM
Yeah.
back
Counting
there.
down.
That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They also got invited to dinner, and they had time to eat their half of their entree before they had to go do their props preset.
There's water bottle handoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is the stuff we love. I would love a camera
Yeah.
back there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would love for
Yeah.
people, like audience members, to just understand the scope of what stage managers, assistant stage managers, crew, like the things that they do behind the scenes.
Okay, now we can rate these performances.
All right. Out of 10 playbills, how many monkeys are we giving these performances?
8.5?
Okay.
Yeah, 8.5. Other than Carolee, there's nothing that, like, takes my breath away.
You just love her so much.
I just love her so much. Just that voice, just effortless, and it's just enormous. Best voice in the world, easily. Everyone is great. There's no one who I'm like, man, that's a drag. And even Terrence Mann, where his character is written in such a weird way and serves such a weird function, he's having the time of his life, and I'm there with him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, German?
I think I'm a 9. I think I love them. I love them all, and I'm happy with what they do, and I'm excited that I get to see it, sort of. I just wanted more, and that's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I'm at a 9 as well, because I also think things would have settled even more had they had the time.
Yeah.
You know, if they would have had the luxury of a longer run, things would have really fallen into place nicely. So, yeah, 9 for me. Yay, good job, performances.
Okay, that's the show.
Should we talk about the Tonys?
Let's talk about the Tonys, and let's see if we can figure out why this show closed so soon.
Okay, welcome to the 70th Tony Awards. It was on June 12th, 2016, and it was hosted by my least favorite late night person, James Corden.
I was just talking about how much I dislike James Corden earlier tonight.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm not alone. So this was the Tony year. Like, this was Waitress. This was Hamilton. This was Shuffle Along. This was American Psycho, School of Rock. So this was the year, and I'm pretty sure that since this year we've never seen this many original musicals, but there were 11 original musicals that season.
Wow.
Yeah, and 5 revivals. So this was the Color Purple year. This was the She Loves Me revival year.
This is the Fiddler.
Spring Awakening revival.
Death West Spring Awakening.
I mean, it was just a busy and full year for Broadway.
This is an absurd year.
Yeah.
And so it is not surprising that this show might have flown under the radar a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I think because it's a young show too, like it was built for like younger audiences, and I don't think younger audience shows do well on Broadway.
You're right.
They don't tend to. Look at Seussical, look at like even Matilda took some time to kind of like gain its traction. Like when they bill them as for young audiences, and I think that's probably why they had like more of the older stuff in there too, to see if they could like bump up those ticket sales.
Yep.
The other important thing, and you just mentioned this, Katie, is Matilda. Matilda was still up at this point.
Oh, that's right. It would have been still running.
And so was siphoning off that audience as a more well-known property.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, a better musical. Even though Matilda's got a lot of trouble. I don't love Matilda. But I think it functions better than this a little bit.
I think it's got a bit more flash.
Yeah, more flash. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely more flash.
So Tuck Everlasting was nominated for 1 Tony Award. Does anyone want to guess what that was?
I'm toss up between music or best supporting. Music. I'll say music.
They were nominated for Best Costume Design of a Musical.
What?
That's insane to me.
I feel like the costume is like the least favorite part of the show for me.
I know. Oh, they didn't perform.
No.
So, the eligibility closed, I think, early May or end of April, and then they announced early May, and then this must have posted closing not long after that.
Right.
That they found out they only had 1 nomination, and so they closed at the end of May. So in terms of the timeline, it's really disappointing how much of this show really hinged on Tony nominations.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's no question they got shut out of a few categories here, even if we can't put them in Best Musical. Man, there should have been a place for them somewhere in leading in the performance categories. Mm-hmm. There's some nice performances here, yeah.
So yeah, that's what was happening that year. And we've done a few episodes where we've talked about the 70th Tony Awards, so a little more in depth. So if you want to go back and listen to the American Psycho episode, I think we did a bit more on that Tony year then.
This is a good Tony Awards.
It was a good Tonys.
Yeah.
All right, let's make some choices.
Should this be a musical?
I say no. I say this is a bizarre story that, in trying to explore immortality, instead raises confusing and difficult to parse questions about the nature of appropriate age relationships.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Even more than that, I'm not sure there's enough forward momentum to actually make this a musical. At least as it stands right now, maybe you can turn it into a 1-act TYA.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a 1-act TYA where you make it very clear that these are buds. Something like A Bridge to Terabithia. As it stands right now, I think that this team and this cast could have been used better to create a different story.
Mm-hmm. Katie, what do you think?
I keep saying it, but if it was scaled back and if they like solidified some of the things a little bit more, I think it could have a special place in the world. But as it exists currently, I think it was trying to do too much, maybe. And so I think for that reason, maybe not. But I do think, for a contemporary, shot at a gentle musical, it's kind of nice. Like, it's not about flash and flare and all the buttons and whistles and all the things. It's just about, the story, and I really appreciate that. And I love how there were points in the time that they just relaxed into that gentle story. And so I think for that reason, if they could isolate that and, hone that, I think it could have a special place.
I believe that it could be a 1-act or a ballet. Or a dance show.
As we were talking, I thought, Where's Tuck Everlasting, the ballet?
Yeah, like a movement piece. I just think that It could be really beautiful. I mean, we all loved the last, 8 minutes of the play when it was the dance sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And do we love it because it was like just a small part of the show, or did we love it because of what that type of storytelling?
Like I said, I loved it less because it was just a small part of the show. I would rather have had that vocabulary a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think maybe this story could be told on stage, just, maybe in a slightly different way. So either a one-act version of this musical or a dance piece. That's my vote.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've made our arguments, we've discussed. The time has come, once again, we have to make a decision. Is this a total flop? Is this a secret bop? Or is this so bad we need to make it stop? Flop is the easiest one to understand. It's basically, there was something in this show that is just not functioning. This show is salvageable, but as it stands right now, it's a no-go. Secret bop is, wow, this show's actually great. Something else happened to make it not be able to crack 100, but this show is the real deal. Or make it stop is, this show should never see the light of day again.
Okay, I think Secret Bop because Paul's love for the musical and the music makes him want to listen to the CD tomorrow.
Ooh.
And I think...
Shit, you can't argue with that.
I think for that reason, there's something special in it, something that makes it a bit of a secret reason why it needed to happen.
I receive that. Thank you. I'm going to say total flop, but there is potential here.
Yeah.
This show just needs some more work. It needs another workshop. Like we said, there's so much good stuff here. I just wish this wasn't Tuck Everlasting. I like the texture. I like the musical textures. I'm going to listen to it again because I think that Tyson and Miller are an interesting composing team and I want to learn more about them. I wish that wasn't the story we're telling.
As a child who had a lot of existential crises, I identify deeply with this material. But, okay, I think this Broadway production was a flop. I think based on our conversation tonight, I would love to see a more pared down version.
Yeah.
One that really just lets the story and the music do their thing.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had some laughs. We've had some
so
cheers.
many
We've had some
laughs.
fun. We've had some disagreements, but we're all still friends.
I hope so.
I hope so. Well, we'll see. We'll talk.
No.
For now, I'm going to thank Katie German for being an incredible guest, for coming on.
Yes, thank you so
for being
much.
here.
Thanks for having me on. This was so much fun. I loved it.
This was so good. For now, please remember to rate, review, subscribe. You mother tuckers, let us know how many times we made that joke.
I think that was number 2 only.
Why would you? Don't say it. I just said.
Remember, they get a prize.
They get a prize. It's okay. It's okay. Producer Daphne's going to bleep it out. Don't worry about
Everyone write
No,
in.
that's
bleep
fine.
Yeah, everyone write in. Let us know you get a secret prize if you tell us how many times we said mother tuckers on this show.
Paul, we don't have that many high fives. We have a finite supply of high fives.
What's a high five?
A high five is when you slap the palm of your hand against
Oh,
the palm of someone else's hand, Katie.
I thought there was like a physical thing you get.
It is. It's a slap between two palms.
We've literally not touched each other for so long that we forget what a high five is.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced hoog. I can give
It's
it
a hoog.
Wow, what a joy.
Love you all, especially now in a time of, once again, a time of isolation, which is a struggle for us all. Please reach out. The point of this podcast is to recapture a little bit of that community that Winnipeg and Canada's theater community has had in droves. So thank you for helping us keep it alive. Stay well, y'all.
Hi everyone, this is producer Daphne speaking. Thank you all so much for listening to Monkeys and Playbills, the show where we take a look at Broadway musicals that had 100 performances or fewer before closing. To learn more about the show, you can follow us on Instagram at Monkeys and Playbills Pod, on Twitter at Monkey Playbills, or email us at monkeysandplaybillspod@gmail.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/monkeysandplaybills. Monkeys and Playbills is proud to be a Village Conservatory for Music Theater podcast. Original music for the show is provided by Paul DeGers, and the show is produced and edited by Daphne Finlayson. Thank you all so much for listening, and join us next week where we take on
Escape to Margaritaville.